So Matthew, so tell us, you're with Prototype House.
Yep, Matthew Bordy with Prototype House. We are a full-service product development firm, and we help entrepreneurs and inventors develop new consumer products as well as larger brands. So we help entrepreneurs from initial idea all the way to helping them set up manufacturing. So everything in between ideation, 3D CAD development, initial prototyping, electrical engineering, building out various versions of prototypes. I have some examples here, the 3D printed centrifuge we did for a medical company.
The whole thing is 3D printed?
Yeah, the whole thing is 3D printed. The base, even the clear top. And then we're able to test the actual PCB board and all of our internal electronics inside the unit before they go to production. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and from there we also help with like packaging design. This is a cool product if you're looking for a Christmas gift. It's called a Hyper Chiller. It's on Amazon. 22,000 5-star reviews, so check that out. Holidays are coming. And, from manufacturing over in Asia to, clients that want to manufacture here in the United States, we can help with that as well. And we also do soft goods. So I brought a bunch of the different examples. This is one of our latest clients. I had to rep Miami because we're here in Fort Lauderdale. So we handle all of those, hard challenges. And we love entrepreneurship. We like to think of ourselves as, the entrepreneur-friendly product development firm. So we really work with you from the grassroots all the way up until you're a corporate company. We have clients that started with us 8 years ago and they call us and say, "Hey Matt, we have this new concept. We're on version 6. What can we do here?" So I'm happy to answer any questions that you get from your clients as they go through the patent process. I'm happy to dive into any aspects of our business, and I really just want to be a resource for people out there that have questions, and help, provide some clarity.
Perfect, love it. I wanted to show off your new online presence. You've obviously got a physical office there. You got a building you're in. What city and state are you in?
So we are in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we just moved into a new facility. It's right on State Road 7. It's about 2,800 square feet. We have a shop, a bunch of 3D printers. This is where all the magic happens. Majority of our clients are out of state. So if you're not in the state of Florida, that's okay. We meet with our clients virtually. We have a client in Dubai right now. You're always welcome to, we're close to Fort Lauderdale Airport. And we just built a brand new website as we're launching into 2025. We're starting to offer some more services as far as app development, software development. So we wanted to kind of showcase with the new website. And I thought that would be cool to show you. Then when you spoke about it, got a sneak peek. And we're pretty excited as it gets built out.
So this is at prototypehouse.com. Looking good. I think I saw you in the video here somewhere. Yeah. I'm sure you're going to be there. So you've got a team. It looks like you've got a pretty sizable group there with you.
Yeah, sizable group. We're lean and I would say lean. Yeah. So we have a team of 6 here. And then we also have 5 other team members that are kind of spread out along the globe. So if you go to About Us, we have 2 team members in India, 2 in Pakistan. We have 1 in the Netherlands. So we're kind of spread out. It just depends on current amount of work that we have, but our core team here is 6 of us. And what's nice about that video, it kind of brings you through the process of working with a development firm if you're ever worried, wondering what that process would look like. And we also have a podcast on the new site, so we'd love to have you on. And we're slowly rolling out some episodes as well. So
your company helps bring things to life in reality. We just make paper, right? Electronic on the side. We get the patent for inventors. You're the one that actually helps bring it about. And this is actually something I talked about. I do a daily video, and I was talking about how often inventors are kind of in this struggle of, gosh, I got this amazing idea. It's a little bit outside of what I do day to day. And so I don't know how to actually build it myself. Do I trust an engineer or a prototyping company to build it, or do I go to a patent attorney first? And I actually usually say, go make sure the darn thing works. Go build it, or at least to some degree, prove it to yourself that the thing works. But what would you say? I mean, and of course, you got to make sure you doesn't have an NDA in place, non-disclosure agreement, and confidentiality is there. Do you have that conversation with some inventors where they're worried about, confidentiality, or whether they should talk with the attorney?
Yeah, absolutely. So that happens all the time. And I think it depends on each entrepreneur. But I always say, don't share your new concept with anybody and until they sign the non-disclosure agreement. We have a non-disclosure that's standard on our website. And then I usually tell them to go speak to a patent attorney first to get some legal advice and to at least set them up properly to move forward. Maybe that it's a good time to file a provisional, or maybe I tell them, hey, I think I've heard that before, do a patent search, and maybe you're wasting your time, You'll be surprised how many inventors we speak to that, they haven't done like a Google patent search or even searched online, and then they come to find out, hey, this is actually out there somewhere. And then as far as building a prototype, I usually encourage to try to make a, in-house prototype, go to Home Depot and just kind of prove the concept. And if you can't, what's nice is there's a lot of, specialty places where you can get help for, marginal amount of money. So you can go to local universities, get an engineering, someone who's graduating in mechanical engineering, say, hey, you want to work on this project for your senior project, and I'll give you some equity if we launch. But that helps, build the first version at least, and then have some grounds to present it to, a good patent attorney and say, hey, bold patents, what should I do now? In a way. And then you can come to a firm like ours where we can help, build it further, get it ready for production. And then if you're someone who's really hands-off, of course, you can go to a product development firm. And then I would say don't patent too early, because during development, like just this centrifuge, it changed about 3 or 4 times during prototyping. And that actually affected the claims and how they would proceed with the IP. Because sometimes how you think something's going to work doesn't translate to the final product.
Love that. Yep, that's a great thing. And sometimes you can time it out just right, where you file for the patent application early and the design doesn't change. But I think that is rare, right? So just as you alluded to, that thing changes oftentimes a lot, several times. What are those, those key things that tend to change? When you come in with this first version of a product, in your experience, doing manufacturing, maybe let's keep that example there on that. You said it's a centrifuge?
It's a centrifuge. It spins blood, so it separates the plasma in the blood. And, in medical practices, it's always time is money, right? They don't want the patients waiting. The sooner you can do the separation and use it, the better. So we're trying to beat, other competitors that were on the market. But one analogy, what I like to reflect on sometimes, is Dyson. So Dyson, before he created vacuum, I believe he did around 1,200 different prototypes before he got to this final version. So if he were to file a patent on the first version, it's very different than what he actually finally came up with and solved all the issues that he ran into. So, if you have an invention, you probably are not going to build, 1,200 prototypes, but I would recommend you're going to go through a few, because things tend to change, and then you can build on that patent, while you're in provisional, and go from there.
Yeah, I love that. The first time they brought their idea or their first version, what were the changes, if you remember, from version 1 to version 2?
Well, for like version 1 is a lot of clients come to us with a certain expectation or an idea. Like, for example, one idea was, we could just increase the speed. Let's just get a massive motor on this thing, and then it just fire up really fast. But technically, that doesn't work either, right? Because you have to hit a certain amount of G-force to be able to, and what actually makes it work better is that you were at almost 90 degrees. So the separation actually happens faster. So if you look at other centrifuges on the market, they kind of stop at about 48 degrees, between 45 and 50. It takes a little bit longer for that separation to happen in the test tubes. So if you're able to pick that up, we have a wider stance. And we didn't really figure that out until we were testing. And the first prototype is just a bench test. It's just a bunch of electronic components and a motor and spinning water. And then as you develop, things get better. And sometimes we even find new features in a product that, the inventor didn't think about because you're developing. And you could say, hey, instead of just, glowing, let's click it twice and then you can have flashing, or, you can highlight each letter. We didn't come up with that, by the way, but just as an add-on, as an example,
Yeah. Well, and I've always thought about that. And I think as an inventor, I would be worried about, oh, if I tell them about this invention, they're going to help me out and improve it. And aren't they going to then own those iterations, those new designs? And I would imagine it's not true. They're actually going to own whatever you guys design. Is that how you work too at Prototype?
Yeah, so they own 100% of all IP. They're able to list us on the patent only as inventor. We don't own any of the IP. And I believe so. I could ask you this question. Someone just asked me that. If we're listed, it actually gives the patent a little bit more credibility because they can go back later and say, well, you know, Matt, Lon, Mike, they were on the team. They were working on it at that time when these improvements happened.
Yeah, I think it's super, it's above board and honest. I think a lot of times you should have been listed as the inventor, right? And maybe it didn't happen. And the truth is that's how it should be. And you simply assign your rights to the entity or to the individual, whoever it is, that's proper. And then there's a reduced chance, let's say in later litigation, of the other side saying, well, there was a problem during prosecution, you didn't name all the inventors properly, and then trying to get you on a technicality of not naming all the inventors. But I think for the most part, the whole point of that discussion was to make sure inventors shouldn't worry, right? They shouldn't worry about working with a prototype or an engineer or a third party, even if the end product changes so much that you now have to file a separate invention. That IP is owned by you because you hired a company, you're working with it, it's okay to iterate and change it.
Yeah, I would caution some, you know, there's some companies out there that try to like retain some of the IP as they're going through. So when you're filtering through, it's like dating. Don't get married too quick, you know, get a couple quotes, talk to who you're gonna, and make sure that you can have a good communication relationship with the person.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah, I think, and the person to trust there would be a business attorney. I always recommend that an inventor, you find someone local, state specific, find a business transactional attorney that'll become hopefully your general attorney as you grow your company. Maybe as you take on investors, hire employees, can get advice about, you know, offering up investor money and scaling. The important part for you to consider is have them look at the contract and look for exactly that. Look for language where they're, you know, the company or third party is looking to take ownership or take some rights away and limit you. You want to make sure you're going into it eyes wide open, not just signing on with the first designer that you speak with. So that was good advice to do some dating. Can you sell your idea to Google? I think that is the heart of that question. And the answer is yes, you can sell patents. You can sell portfolios often. Those sell a whole lot better. And that term is fancy, portfolio. It just means more than one. And so I encourage inventors to come away with several patents that cover a really broad amount of technology. For a lot of the reasons we just got done talking about, is because the design changes over time. And even though you get a patent granted, you want to have at least one or two children of that parent filing still pending, so that when competitors go to design around your patent and, you know, take off a bell or a whistle and change it or change the angle, that you can now change your child patent and try to expand the scope to cover what your competitors are going toward. So it's a very advanced way. Some of the big guys and big gals play this way. So having a portfolio to sell to a big company like that is not going to happen overnight unless you have you have a relationship with Google or that big company you're trying to sell to. And this is going to probably, trick you a bit, but oftentimes sales will come up when there is infringement. Okay, so having infringement of your patent or your portfolio can actually be a good thing. It means that somebody's interested in it, right? There's enough market demand for a company to want to be in the market. And if you catch an infringer, especially one with deep pockets that's wise, they'll say, you know what, let's just settle this. I'll buy your portfolio and then we're no longer infringing. So if you've got a really amazing idea, if it's a $1 billion idea, Mohammed, there's no reason why you couldn't make a deal with someone even as large as Google.
You know, one of my mentors said, if you're starting any new business, online or product, you should figure out your top 20 people that would buy you, top 20 competitors that could buy you, and kind of break it down and then get contact details from each person and start, asking people to lunch and see if you can make something happen.
I like that. Yeah. Don't just kind of hope that'll happen. Make a plan, right? Make your list of dream 20 and go start working toward that exit if that's what your goal is. Let's talk a bit about the other side, maybe a different product. Is that a surfboard behind you, or that
Oh,
big?
so that was actually an SDM TV product, and it's
Oh,
called
okay.
Booty Pro. And we do a lot of fitness products as well. And it was a fun product. I think it's still online. This is many years ago. I just grabbed different products. But I think one thing that we could touch on, a lot of clients ask us also is, licensing. From my point of view, I think licensing is very difficult because you have to have a very strong, thick skin, because you'll get 2,000 no's before you get a yes, And I always feel like it's a little bit of a pipe dream, because the clients that I've worked with have been able to facilitate and close a licensing deal. Usually it happens after they start selling the actual product. And it's not just with a patent and just a concept model or an animation. So, what do you see with your entrepreneurs? And one question that they ask me, and I'm not sure how to answer, is how do you protect yourself when you're pitching for licensing that, they don't come out with, like, for example, here's an example. If you pitch, I believe it's to either Husky or Skill, their hardware, they have, they basically say you can pitch your product, but, we may be already working on something similar. How do you navigate those waters when licensing?
You're right. You're going to hear a ton of no's, and it takes persistence. In my experience, I've been at this 10 years. The ones who have made it and actually gotten deals, they're just hungry and they're dogged, and they're going to make it happen no matter what. That's their life. I've got one client who made a swim fin. Okay, and it helps swimmers swim faster. You hook it onto your toes. He's going down, finding athletes, collegiate athletes, saying, please put this on, try it, right? He's going to trainers, physically going places, presenting. It's just a matter of time before, you know what I mean? I'm sure you've seen this. And it takes that true fire, that passion and energy to make it happen. And that's why it's rare, I think. I think it's a great thing to mention and talk to clients about the truth of, it is extremely rare for you to be laid back, getting a deal done. It's extremely unlikely, right? To just chill, right? And be able to acquire something like that and get it into the market.
And even when you go to production, I have a client, it's called Burn Jack. He's on Amazon, and he's a federal agent by day. And he wanted some, extra income, because he can't be a federal agent forever, age, everything else. Really cool client. And, first year out of the gate, he's like, man, my sales suck. And I'm like, well, what did you put into it? And he's like, well, I have it listed on Amazon, and we've ran, a little bit of ads. And I was like, well, maybe you should do some trade shows and, take it a little more seriously, because you'll kick up sales. So he got a custom bike, big chopper bike with Burn Jacket on there. He attended a ton of shows, and then I bumped into it a year later, and he's like, sales are rocking. This is amazing. And now he's done 3 other versions of that. But that is that persistence, because, you have these peaks and troughs, and when it gets really, when you're frustrated, you're not making a lot of sales when you first launch a product. Mind you, you've invested in a patent, production, product development, packaging, you put all this effort in, and then you're thinking, all right, I'm finally going to sell, and then nothing happens. Maybe you just have to keep pushing, and don't let go of the goals. I really like what you said about being resilient. The people that make it have a fire in their belly. They want to get it.
Yes. Get it in the hands of real customers that you don't know, right? Not your mom or dad, not your sister, like someone who's going to give it to you straight. And that's the best thing to do. And that's why I advocate a lot for provisionals, for those that are new to the industry, don't have experience with products like this, if it's their first time inventing, because it's going to change. And having a nice, broadly written provisional that is thoughtful will hopefully, if done right, if done boldly, as we say, it'll encompass a lot of those iterations and versions that you're going to come up with. The customer tells you, gosh, this needs to have 2 attachments, not 1. You roll it in, and now your final product, that's selling well, that's what you put into the non-provisional. And that's what the examiners will find. Hopefully, the goal is, of course, to have a patent match the product. So keep working at it. We got a question from Ziptal. Zipfall, thanks for tuning in. What if you have a multi-billion-dollar idea, but don't have the money to patent? What do you suggest one do to head toward that direction? Funding, I love it. A very, very good question. There's lots of different ways to fund a patent. I mean, if you know, we talk about this passion, this burning desire. Usually those people will just find the money, right? Savings, put on a credit card, right? Go take a loan out. It's the traditional stuff to just, you know, take a loan from your 401k. I mean, unfortunately, if you, whatever it takes to get started, do it. If you can't do it on your own, I would say then find a partner, find a close family or business, right? Business partner, and work with a business attorney to have it contractually bound. How the 2 or 3 or however many of you there are to pool money, to get those resources to begin making those steps forward. You know, if you think you've got that big idea, I think it should be fairly straightforward to convince someone else to get on board with you that has maybe willing to be your financier. Any comments to that, Matthew? Have you seen 1 or 2 or 3 person teams come together?
You know, I have a current client, can't say his name, but he's an amazing guy. And we've been speaking to him for almost 3 years. And he's like, guys, can you just invest in our product and I'll give you equity? Prototype House doesn't do that. We don't work for equity. But I said, you know, I'm going to call him James. It's not his name, but James, I'm sure, why don't you, think about a strategy we can raise the funds. So what he did is he created a PowerPoint presentation, and he took his NDA with him, and he went to people in that industry that his product is going to be in. And he went and set up investor meetings every week for 6 months. And I'll tell you what, just about 5 weeks ago, he's fully funded. He found one guy who said, I believe in you. Let's do this thing. So
there it is.
Zoom call, we went over our quote and what our deliverables were going to be and what the strategy was. And now he's fully funded. So there's people out there that are, that have money, that will believe in your idea, that may be in the industry that you're trying to go into. So it's definitely possible. Right. It goes back to being resilient, just he believed in it and never gave up. So.
Yeah, what I love about that, thank you for sharing that story. And I think it adds a lot when you're not just asking for money, but you're saying, hey, I spoke with an attorney, or hey, I spoke with Prototype House. These are the fees they're charging. I need to raise this amount of money to do this thing. You're thoughtful. You've worked it out. You know the next steps. You just need to get the funding to go. You're not just blindly asking for funds. So I think that combined with the persistence, it's going to happen. So I'm happy to hear that worked out well for him.